Hello viewers, welcome to another episode of An Old Man with a Smartphone. In this episode I'm going to discuss affordable off-grid solar and kind of my thoughts and opinions on solar, as I've been doing this for about 10 years. What I've learned through watching others and experimenting and exploring myself is there's a couple of ways to go with solar and a couple of reasons why you would or would not. And I'm going to kind of talk about that a bit and break it down. We'll talk about the grid tie system versus the off-grid system. And we'll talk about my system versus other systems, as well as roof mount and ground mount solar. Let's jump right in. So for grid tie systems, the general premonition is you're going to buy all this equipment, you're going to have all kinds of paneling coming out from your main electrical panel, and when the sun's up, you're back feeding the grid, and the utility company's going to cut you a big paycheck, and it'll all be paid off in 10 years or so. And that's one way people go. I did not do that. The way I calculated the math, you're going to spend $25,000 to $40,000 on equipment. When the grid goes down, you have no power. So you're not doing yourself much of a favor for that money. Then you get into net metering agreements and find out you can only back sell so much, and the rest you're penalized for. And then your insurance company contacts you and tells you they're no longer going to insure your home because of a fire hazard. And so forth and so on. You spent $35,000. And you're just not going to get that back. So some people go with the off-grid backup. That's what I have here, is a simple off-grid backup. This powers a majority of my home. I am currently running my dryer and my washer, as well as fridge, freezers, a bunch of stuff upstairs. The lighting down here is all off power. I've got downstairs grow lights for my Elevere in the winter time. That's all off this one device. With these off-grid systems, where I see a lot of people make mistakes, is they go ahead and purchase the cheap, which is your solar panel, and they install these 12 or to 15 or 25 kilowatt solar arrays, and then they have a machine like this here. This is the 6000 XP. A few companies make this. Lux Power makes it. It's also branded by EG4. This is a simple little off-grid inverter that's been coming along over the years. It allows you your load out, grid power, which this is connected via where I used to plug in my dryer, and then the generator, which I've got connected outside, battery breaker to your batteries. Very simple. You have to install your own load center. And I'm not an electrician, but this was not the most complicated thing I've ever done. I've got a bunch of circuitry here. Everything is in use except these top two. Everything else has a dedicated purpose. I'm going to put one of those top two into the living room. The other one was for the furnace, but I'm not connecting the furnace this year, and I'll discuss that in a bit. My solar array, as you'll see in a bit when I go outside, it's 2700 watts. So I don't have a 10,000 watt solar array or the 20,000 like some people, but I also never use my generator, and I sell more into the grid than what I take back out of the grid. A lot of people are going to say that this cannot back sell to the grid. I say you are wrong, my friend. The new software this actually does. Now, I don't need a net metering agreement. I don't have to change my meters or any of the wires. It does not sell enough to the grid to run your meter backwards. All it's going to do is supplement. So if you're drawing a kilowatt of power in your house, you might be able to sell 400 or 500 watts in, meaning you're only drawing 500 watts from the city. In order for this to backfeed at all, it has a circuit in it that has to sense the 240 or 250 volt from the main line, as well as the 60 hertz, which is your main power. The moment it doesn't sense that power, no backfeeding. Where a lot of people go wrong with these, and they buy their 15,000 watt solar array and wind up running a generator all night, is because they'll go ahead and when it comes to the battery bank, they're going to buy server rack batteries. They'll get 1, 2, or 3, which is only 300 amps if you have 3, or 100 amps if you have 1. What I did, instead of doing that, I bought 8 320 amp hour cells, and they're wired in series and parallel, as you can see. This gives me 33 kilowatt hours, and it was a very reasonable price. I'll get into the price in a bit. What I avoided doing was buying batteries that have expensive gimmicks like Bluetooth and Wi-Fi and fax machines and portable surveillance and signal jammers and all that other crap that's coming in these batteries. That makes them very expensive, but no more powerful. In fact, they have a greater internal draw, so they'll just go ahead and die on you faster. I didn't do that. These are the dumbest BMSs I could get. They've got over voltage protection, under voltage protection, and over current protection. That's it. They don't sense temperature at all. I believe it does have over temp sensor in them, but they don't do the cold temperature shutoff. They don't have the heater packs. They're not Bluetooth or Wi-Fi or any of that. How I maintain these batteries is simply by programming my Lux Power 6000 XP appropriately as per the owner manual for these particular batteries. I feel the voltage it asks for is a little high. However, I check these batteries every month, check their voltage for balance, and I see that they're within 1/10 of a volt every time. How these balance is when I charge to absolute full, I will have the capacity of obtaining 2 kilowatts of power from the solar, but these batteries will only be taking 30 to 40 watts because they're full and they're now trickling. And that's how I know they're balancing out. This will also sense over voltage, and when it does, it goes into panic mode. It shuts off the solar and it starts drawing from the battery until it gets back down to an appropriate voltage. With those two inverters here, that takes my 48 volts from the big battery bank, knocks it down to 12 volts. Each one is good for 30 amps. So I'm allowed 60 amps at 12 volts into those two bus bars. And that's what feeds my solar radio, or my solar powered ham radio on the ham bench. Now we'll go outside and have a look at my solar panels, and then I'll start talking about my cost. So this here is my solar array. And there are 6 450 watt panels. I currently have it tarped off, which keeps the weather out from underneath here. But there are 6 450 watt panels. And this gives me 2,700 watts of solar. The reason my inverter charge controller, that 6000 XP, was humming so hard today I literally had to run the dryer because the batteries were full and I needed somewhere to store the power that this is putting out. The batteries have been full for an hour, so I have to drain some to earn some. I'm experimenting to see what the maximum yield is. We'll pause here for a quick word from our sponsors and I will show you the front. Welcome back. Turns out I don't have any sponsors. So this is the front, just 6 panels, and yeah, I've got 2,700 watts worth of solar that feeds my house. My batteries fill up on the frequent. We'll see how it works this winter. But my battery bank is, and when it comes to batteries, you can really go a lot of ways with the LiPo4. When I first started, lead acid was your only choice and it's junk. Now we have LiPo4 and it's good. We'll have another word from our sponsors and grab another angle. With all these brakes, you gotta be happy I don't have sponsors. Okay, so here's the underside. And it's a pretty simple rack that I built. There's the main box where all of the panels are tied into. Down there is my generator that runs this way and just goes and plugs in. And there's a ground. This little device, and part of the reason this is all tarped off, is this is a 175,000 BTU diesel heater. I'm going to pour about $5 worth of diesel in it this winter. And when my panels are completely covered in snow, I'll be able to plug this in, run it for about a half hour to 40 minutes. Even in minus 40, it's going to heat this space so much that the snow will just start melting off the panels, or that's the plan. So, this is how I chose to do my off-grid. It's not completely off-grid. It does have a connection and backs up with the grid. However, in zero grid, I'll be fine. It's charges, runs all my needs, runs everything we're doing in the house today, and we don't have power problems. So we'll just start talking about what I spent. For 6 450 watt panels, I've got 2,700 watts of solar, which is all I really need. They're $190 each. So I paid $1,140 for them, plus $200 for shipping, $1,340 in total. The 6000 XP shipped to my door was $2,045, including everything. The batteries for 320 amp hour 12 volt batteries, they were $960 each. I bought 8. I would have bought 16, but I bought 8. And they were $7,680 in total, giving me 33,152 watt hours of power. For all of the wood, the stands, and wiring, that was about $650 all in. That makes my entire system $11,715 Canadian. And you don't have to drop your money on one single pack. You kind of buy it over time. If you've watched my channel, I've been doing solar for a while, so it's, you know, bits and pieces here, bits and pieces there. If I had to do it over again, and I was going to do it all in one shot, I would be going with the AJ Solar 550 watt panels. I'd buy 6 of them. And that would come out to 3,300 watts and a total of $1,640 after shipping. They're $240 each. And that's pretty much where I would make my big change, as I just buy the 550 watt panels. The reason I didn't is because I started buying the solar panels before I bought that 6000 XP, and I had no idea I was going to get a 6000 XP until I did. Pardon me while I fall over and break a leg. We'll have another word from our sponsors. As I was saying before I so rudely interrupted myself, if you watch my earlier videos, before I purchased this 6000 XP, I was playing with a 100 watt EP or a 100 amp EP Ever MPPT charge controller, and the most it would handle are the three 445s or three 450s, and that's why my panels are only 450s and not 550s. After buying the 3 panels and playing with that for a while, I went ahead and bought this. Now, what has this done for me? I've had it for about 2 months, and we'll go through a few still shots I took of the power stats. So we'll try and get this in here nice and close. This is the 2 months I've had it. I'm not sure if you can read that, but it's a little under 300 kilowatt hours per month. The first month I hooked it up on the 8th, and I had to wait for 3 more panels to really get it all fired up. Next slide. So this is a photo of the app from today. As you can tell, I've had 594.9 kilowatt hours. It'd be a little more than that. I'm actually due to break 600 kilowatts either today or within the early hours of tomorrow. I've also backfed the grid more power than what I've received, but you can kind of look at the numbers and what things were doing when I took this picture. Well, I think that's pretty much it for the pictures you'd be able to see. I don't edit my videos. I don't have anything to edit them with, so I kind of have to do everything ancient and old school. But in my advice, if you're buying one of these systems, definitely go with a 6000 XP. If it can't by itself run your entire home, you can always connect 2 together. You can connect up to, I believe, 16 or 18. I use 1, and I rarely ever max it out. In fact, I was beaten on it today, and I had to get a whole bunch of stuff going just to kick it over, which included the dryer. I would really pay a lot of attention to your batteries. There's so many ways to go. You know, I wasn't able to find them, but for the same price, I couldn't find them today, but I have seen them for the same price I paid for these 320 amp hour batteries. There's companies that put them out at 600 amp hours for the same price. And they're just like this, only more storage. So when it comes to batteries, you really got to look around. There's a lot of options, and just stay focused on your amperage. Amperage in, amperage out. Doesn't matter what the voltage is. I started with a 12 volt system and like a 20 amp hour deep marine 12 volt battery, lead acid. It was, I killed it almost right away. I went to 6 volt 320 amp hour batteries, or 208 amp hour batteries is what they were. 6 volt 208 amp hour batteries. That only gave me about 250 usable amps all up, because they were lead acid. Then I bought just one of these batteries, and that gave me all 320 amps, so it was way better. Then I doubled it to 2 batteries. And when I could, I bought the other 6 all in one go. That's kind of how that worked out for me. But I'd recommend buying all your batteries at the same time. You want the same battery with the same BMS. You want to charge them up to absolute full on their own. Then you want to hook them in series parallel like this. You want to give them 24 hours after that, and then you want to charge the entire bank back to full. Then you can start using them and putting them in service. Aside from that, that's my solar project. What I spent, why I didn't go with the $30,000 home package or the $25,000 off-grid package with the 30 kilowatt hours of solar. I just skimped on the solar and went big on the battery, and everything is working fine for me. Do go ahead and leave a comment in the comment section. Tell me what you are doing or what you're planning on doing. Tell me what you think of my system. Have yourself a great day. Thank you very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed.